Hey everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist at Adobe, and I am joined by Christine Lee. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, you excited to be back?
I am very excited to see everyone.
You were on
again.
Adobe Live last year at some point.
Yeah, back in April.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time having you back. I don't know what I'm saying. This is the third stream of the day. You just watched Hiba and Melody, and then I was here earlier, no glasses. And hey, Kevin, I was with Josh. It's been a long day. Josh Iwata, who was designing an interior design website in Adobe XD, and you're going to be designing some cool stuff. But before we get to that, I want to touch on some of the cool things that are coming up. So in about 15 minutes, we're going to have Chat and Win, where there's going to be fireworks behind us. Cool stuff. And then one of you will be winning 100 free stickers from stickermule.com. Who doesn't love stickers?
Oh my god, I love Sticker Mule. That's
Right?
the best gift
Isn't it?
ever.
Is that a Sticker Mule sticker on there?
This is a Sticker Mule sticker.
Oh, I love it.
These are all Sticker Mule stickers.
Yeah.
I make a bunch of them.
I need to do something here. I don't have any stickers. I need to.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll enter Chat and Win. But I'm always worried because like I can't commit. Because I
It's
put it in the wrong
hard,
place or
yeah. That's why I put them on my notebook so I can take them with me.
And it has to look good on stream. There's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And then we also have a challenge going on where you can design a photo gallery using Adobe XD. There's a challenge tab right up there. And you can win a 1-year subscription to the Creative Cloud. And if you get it submitted in time, then myself and Christine will take a look at it, rip you to shreds. No, we'll be nice. We'll be very nice. And if you have any questions for mostly Christine, maybe me, I don't know. But if you have questions as she's going through the process of designing this really cool thing, we'll talk about it in a second, leave them in the chat. Also, let us know where you're tuning in from. We're streaming live from San Francisco, but I love hearing where people are from all around the world. So, and welcome to Jan and Kyle and Suyog and Ashi, Kevin, one of our awesome guests and hosts. He's awesome. Cool. Alrighty, so what are you going to be tackling today?
So today, we're going to be taking a look at the underwater world. We're going to be diving into the ocean and designing a mobile experience that enables scuba divers to learn more about dive sites around the world.
Interesting. So very different from what you did last time.
Oh, yeah, I mean, last time was beers. It's, a little bit, I feel like beers is more accessible, but scuba diving is very fun, and it's a recent hobby that I picked up.
Oh, nice. I've always wanted to try it.
Yeah, so this is like my excuse to do some research while I'm also creating a design project.
Nice.
Yeah.
So maybe after they go scuba diving, they can use your beer app to
For sure.
find a restaurant.
100%.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah. So, I just put together a brief overview of what we're planning to tackle over the next 3 days. As I mentioned, we want to focus on a mobile experience to help scuba divers learn more about dive sites around the world. And more specifically, I, as a novice diver, whenever I go diving, I'm really intrigued by the animals and the coral and all the plants and all of the fun visual elements rather than the actual diving part.
Yeah.
So I figured that's what we would focus on today.
Do you do any photography while you're down there?
I don't, but there is actually an underwater photography course that Patty lets you learn about. So there is a special certification for underwater photography.
Interesting.
And if you look at Adobe stock, as I was preparing for this project, I actually noticed there were a ton of photos on there.
Yeah.
So all of the sea slugs and all of the barracudas and the whale sharks that you ever wanted to see, they're all available on Adobe stock. So if you wanted to pick up a new hobby, underwater photography is a good one.
I want to do that. There's some really cool stuff down there.
There is.
That you just don't see up here.
There's some crazy things down there.
Nice.
Yeah. So, just to give you an overview of what we're planning to tackle today I want to focus on just really understanding the problem space and learning more about the diving world and helping set expectations on where the users are going to be as they're experiencing this app. And then so we'll brainstorm some high-level approaches and then design the core flows that, people might want to use in this app to learn more about dive sites.
Cool.
And
I know that, I mentioned it this morning when I was talking with Josh, is usually the stuff in day one isn't very sexy.
No,
it's because it's research and it's figuring out what the user experience is, but it's so vital to the overall process of designing something, because a lot of people I've noticed, especially people who are just getting to design, they want to design something that they can just throw up on Dribbble or Behance and look pretty. But then you get to the end and you realize none of it actually works. And you start testing it with users, and they're looking at their phones or their computers and thinking, I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
So much of this is necessary. And if you're watching and you want to get into design, really pay attention to some of the stuff that Christine is going to be doing, because it's definitely going to help you.
And I always like to tell people who are new to design that this is the phase where you want to make the most mistakes, because it's the most cheap way to make the mistakes. It's just pencil and paper. It's really easy to iterate. You can scratch out ideas that you don't want to commit to, explore a lot. And so it's a really fast and cost-effective way of making sure that your thing works before you get to the next stage.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, and what's up, Talon? One of our amazing designers on XD. He does a weekly segment on designing XD within XD, and they're shuffling it up a little bit, but they do really, actually last week, he designed what blend modes could look like in Adobe XD, which is really cool. And a lot of, the team at Adobe watches these streams. No pressure.
Oh,
but cool. Honestly, as you're using the application, even though, XD, we want you to, love XD, we know there's opportunities. So as you're using it, if there's something that you really want to see in XD, like either whether it's basic or something more advanced, talk about it. Because the team is listening, they're always reading user voice, they're always watching streams, and that's how we're really improving the application, by listening to actual designers like yourself. Because I'm just someone who just sits here and talks. You're a designer.
Yeah, last time Talon helped me build out the beer app, and so we did some pair design together and created the little icon and logo, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good to have you on here. Cool. And then so that's kind of today. Today's going to be a lot of text. It's going to be a lot of sketches. It's going to be a lot of boxes and gray rectangles. So just to set expectations, that's where we're going to be today.
Nice.
And then tomorrow what we'll do is we'll look at the visual design and polish that up a bit. So we'll add more color, we'll add more styles, we'll establish the style guide to apply to the UI, and then we'll also start generating some name ideas, because I'm really bad at this part. So if you see any of my files, it's just like file name.
We actually have some. Jan is already way ahead of you. They're brainstorming names already. Diver with just no E at the end. Diver.
Nice. Diver. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to comment and let us know, and we'll take that and experiment with that as well. And then finally on day 3, what we'll do is we'll look at the interaction design and try to polish some of that up as well. So taking into account things like loading states, error states, transition states, and because this is a mobile app, we'll be looking at what native gestures can we incorporate, and make sure that all the timing and all of the transitions work well. So that's
my favorite part of the whole process, when you get to the prototyping phase and you're animating everything.
Yeah.
And I kind of find myself getting caught up in that sometimes. I'll just animate so much and I'll pass it on to a developer, and they just look at it like, what do you expect me to do with this?
Yeah.
So you have to kind of keep those things in mind, especially if if it's not going to be just a sexy dribble shot, and Talon was using that phrase on Friday, you really have to consider what a designer or a developer is capable of doing.
For sure.
When you get to that phase.
But the good thing about designing for iOS is they have a lot of those native transitions that you can just lean on. So that's a really great way to also hand off to developers, is just work with them closely and see what's possible, and then translate that back into your designs instead of starting from scratch. So.
Yeah, and have you ever had any issues when you've been talking to developers and they just either don't know what they're doing or not sure how to take what you've designed and transition it into code?
Yeah, there have been a couple instances. I mean, there are lots of talented developers out there, and for the front-end developers who do love jumping into all of the UI components and transitions, I just give them my mocks and let them be, and then we'll check in later. But some developers do need a little bit more hand-holding, so we'll sit down next to each other and be like, oh, can you make that a second faster? Oh, can you make it spring a little bit more? And, so we'll walk through all of those specs together.
Nice, because it really is a hand-holding process. Both, the designers and the developers have to kind of be involved at the same time to make sure everything looks beautiful.
Yeah, and you also get that real-time feedback from the developers saying like, oh, this isn't possible.
true.
So how can we like compromise and like find another way around this to do the same thing?
Yep.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool.
So
Let's dive in.
let's dive into
Already starting with the
diver.
dad jokes.
Diver. All right. So I don't know if
We have
you
a
can
GoPro.
see this. The setup is super high tech, by the way. If you guys ever make it to the Adobe office, it's really neat.
There you go.
Should I flip it around like this?
There we go.
Okay. So,
You can read backwards, right?
so what I always like to do when I start off on a project is really understand what I'm trying to build.
Yeah.
And the fastest way for me to do that is to just write everything down on paper and do a quick mind mapping exercise. So this is what I have here. As you can see, like, we have our scuba diving app that we're trying to build out. And so I'll just try to make all of these connections and think about all of the different instances that I want to incorporate into this app. And by no means is it final, it's just a way for me to get my thoughts down on paper.
Yeah. And how important is a stage like this to the end result? Because I know a lot of designers, especially these days, they don't even want to look at a piece of paper. But I find it sometimes very helpful to just like get rid of the computer, push it away, and then just start using a pen and paper. Good old-fashioned pen and paper.
This is actually my favorite part because you can just like do whatever you want and then you don't have to commit to it. I feel like once you're on the screen, it's a little harder to like let things go once you've explored it. So I like this stage a lot just because it helps you like get everything down and explore all the different angles. So if you're looking at it here, this process is also very messy, which I like about it, because then you don't have to feel like you have a final answer.
Yep.
So here we have scuba diving. We are, can't read backwards, sorry. So scuba diving, and then I first started off like, oh, okay, I want to build a guide to dive sites. What about those dive sites? Oh, these dive sites are actually often remote locations without any internet connection, so that's also something to keep in mind. Like
that's
if we
true.
want people to be able to access this app, we can't rely on that, and we have to enable them to access this content locally.
Yep.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing is like, oh, I really want people to learn about the animals and the plants and the current conditions that they're going to see at these dive sites, and just set expectations for them like before their dive and during their dive and after their dive, because a lot of times people will go out to dive sites and they'll be like, I want to see a whale shark today, and it's like, sorry, they only come out in May. So just making sure that people are aware of what they're getting themselves into.
Yep.
And then also wanted to include some tips, perhaps. Also wanted to outline some certifications that are required for certain dive sites, because some dive sites might be a little bit more complicated than others. They might be more beginner friendly, or you might need like a nitrox certification, or you might need cold water deep diving certifications. They're very niche and specific certifications that you might need.
It's interesting you bring that up, because most people, I'm probably one of those people, they just think scuba diving, oh, it's just water. You go down and you look at things and you come back up. But it's more like, skiing. They have different, it's not just like one little bunny hill. There could be ski slopes with moguls, and there could be all these different like trees in the way.
Exactly.
And I would imagine it's probably the same as scuba diving, where there's all these conditions that are vary by ocean to ocean or lake to lake or whatever it is.
Yeah, like if you go diving where there's a lot of caverns and caves, you have to be careful, because if you don't have enough oxygen to get out, then you're kind of stuck, and that's really tragic.
And you can't use an app to save you on that.
No, you can't. So those are just some things to keep in mind. And then also, so like all of these things, it exists currently in the diving experience. The way that this information is delivered is that the dive master will usually prep you beforehand and say like, oh, like today the currents are moving this way, be careful like when you're coming back up. It's gonna be a little bit murky, so like just be aware of like your visibility, and they'll give you all of that information. But I feel like if you're going to be researching these dive sites beforehand, or if you want to access this information while you're like writing out to the site, it might be fun to have it in your hand instead of like waiting on that person to be free to tell you that information.
Absolutely. I'm just laughing at all the dad jokes that are coming in.
No.
GusBot over there suggested, let's see
Let's see.
Like SEA.
I'll try to entertain them. Sorry,
He's just
guys.
giggling to himself over there. Keep those ideas coming, because on day 2, when we do tackle, not me, when Christine tackles the name of the app, that's going to come handy.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we'll like set up a poll or something.
Oh, we can
and
do
have
that. That'd be
people
fun.
vote.
Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, there's like a bunch of other things on here. What else do I have? Oh, there's like day dives versus night dives. So depending on what time of day you're diving, there might be different creatures that come out because some are more nocturnal, some like the sun. And so that's kind of like where I like to start. And then what I'll do next is...
Ooh, that's pretty.
Thank you. What I'll do next is I'll try to like create a really simple flow map of like what I want the user journey to look like. This is what I call the happy path, making sure that, you know, if the user doesn't hit any roadblocks, what does that ideal experience look like?
Yeah.
But more often than not, users aren't going to hit the happy path, and that's what we'll account for in day 3. So the basic experience looks like, okay, they're going to go and download the app. Then once they have it downloaded, they'll open the app. They'll launch in some sort of home screen where they can see all the dive sites that are available, and then they'll be able to select the dive site that they're interested in learning more about, and then have that detailed view. They might open up a field guide that like gives them more information about all of those animals that they're gonna see, and then there's like some kind of animal gallery that you can like scroll through to learn more about all of the different ones that are available. So what I like about this flow chart is that it tells you from like a really high level what the system actions are going to be and what screens you'll need to design.
Yeah.
So these things that I have underlined are all of the key screens that I think are crucial to this experience.
Okay.
And so that's what I've translated over here. So these are some like really quick, dirty screens that I sketched out. Like this is a potential home screen where you have like a little search bar, and then you have a welcome note, and then these are all like the dive sites that you can scroll through horizontally like a carousel.
And are those dive sites, are they sorted by any like location, or how are they sorted?
This one is not.
Okay.
I didn't think about that. I didn't get that far yet, but I was thinking like a recommended dive site or like most popular dive sites. It's basically a curated collection so that users don't have to scroll through like a whole list.
Right.
So I wanted to like highlight 5 that I think are relevant. So these are the 5. And then if you click on one of these guys, maybe we'll take you to the detailed view of that dive site. So we'll have like the name of the dive site and the country it's in, and then maybe have some little icons that say, oh, this is good for beginners, or good for like people who like fish, or good for, I don't know, people who like shallow diving or something like that, right? So like personal curated, I guess, icons here. And then also outline the level, have some tips. And then as you can see in the sketch, I didn't draw my rectangle to scale, so things fall off, but that's okay. Here's a CTA for people to view the field guide that will launch them into the animal gallery.
Nice. I'm already envisioning AutoAnimate working with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm really excited about AutoAnimate too. And then so here's another screen that was crucial, is like learning more about each of the animals. So here's like a big placeholder for a photo of the animal, name of the animal, more explanation, and then maybe like a little progress bar so that people can scroll through them in the carousel. And then potentially search. So if we don't want to limit users to just like the 5 sites, do we want to give them a whole list and then allow them to like filter based on their interests or their levels or whatever they're interested in?
Awesome, that looks great.
Yeah. So that's what we have so far.
Yeah, and I can definitely start to see how some of this stuff that's just on traditional pen and paper will help tremendously in transitioning to something digital.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
So,
Let me just do that again.
I think I went to sleep.
oh,
Oh, you want to
computer
that's why.
will wake up.
We're up
There we
There we
go.
go.
All right. So,
Christine's computer was sleeping with the fishes.
So what I like to do next is, now that we have a pretty concrete skeleton of what we're trying to build out, like here we already have 1, 2, 3, 4 screens.
Yep.
And we might want multiple instances of some of these screens, so we can easily create 10 today, right?
Right.
So this is why I like sketching, because then now we just go to the easy part, which is translating these sketches to the screen. So that's what we'll start doing.
Oh, that'd be cool. Oscar says, can you imagine an app that works underwater and uses AI to identify animals?
That would be amazing.
That'd be so cool. You can use Adobe Sensei technology with Adobe stock to identify, and AR.
Yeah.
Oh, now we're getting, okay, let's do that
It's like
then.
the hot dog app. Like hot dog?
Forget all of what you're going to do. Let's do that.
Yeah. No, they already have like a lot of cool apps that identify flowers.
Yeah.
And like identify like random plants in your backyard and is it poisonous or not? Can I eat this or not? So
Yeah,
I
which
could
is
see
important
this
because
translating.
I would not want to eat a poisonous flower. Whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
People eat flowers on them.
Yeah.
Poisonous
They're good.
something.
They're like peppery and nutty. Anyways, so what I'll start doing is I'll start with this home screen and then like get the dive site detail view and start mocking that up on the screen here. What I have here is I never like to start from scratch because I feel like a lot of designers out there do a lot of the work to create templates and like iPhone guides, and there's really no reason to start from scratch.
No.
So what I've done here is I've actually taken this from Apple's guide. So if you go into XD and you go into Get UI Kits Apple iOS, Apple actually has a pretty extensive template that you can download here.
Yep.
So it says download for Adobe XD, and they have like all of these amazing like system level components that you can just pull in. So this is a great place to start. And so I just grabbed this one with the status bar and using that in my artboard here.
Yeah, I mean, if it's there, you might as well use it, right?
Exactly.
Why do, like you were saying, why do
work?
all the hard work just to create something that already exists for free that's literally made for you to use in your projects?
Exactly. And it's made by Apple, which is like the platform that we're
Yeah,
designing for.
and
so
you know the
it's great.
specifications are exactly to scale, so you're not going to run into any issues. It's, you know.
Yeah. So what I'll start doing here is on my sketch, I have I have like all of these big dive site.
I have a request.
Guides?
I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. When the app opens on the loading screen, can we play the Baby Shark song?
The Baby Shark.
Do you know the Baby Shark song?
I do know the Baby
Okay.
Shark song. Have you heard the like ballad rendition?
I have.
By James
All the
Gordon?
remixes and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The one on 10-hour loop.
Yeah. I haven't listened for 10 hours, but although my daughter probably has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They play them in like all the different languages too.
Oh,
you
really?
can learn a lot. Yeah.
Oh,
I
interesting.
listen to it in Korean and I'm like, oh, this is actually really great for my vocabulary.
Oh,
'Cause you get to
interesting.
learn new words.
There we go. Now, Howard knows what's up. Now we have to do it. Or we should use the speech playback in Adobe XD so they can sing it.
What is that?
So
Can you tell me?
as of October, we introduced, no, sorry, Kyle. We introduced voice triggers and speech playback so you can actually incorporate like a voice assistant in your app. So you can say like, show me the dive sites near me or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it can actually respond to you. So we can put the lyrics to Baby Shark in as a speech playback. And
Oh my god, that's amazing.
it would be a nightmare, but
Wait, you have to show me how to do that.
Oh, no.
When we get to the
okay,
prototyping.
we'll do that.
Day 3. Stay tuned.
We have 0 people on day 3.
Will it sing it back to you or will it just talk back to you?
It'll just talk,
Oh, okay.
but it'll still be magical.
Got it. All right, so when I'm
There's
doing...
a Star Wars version?
What?
Oh my god, look what we started.
That's so weird. Yeah, we'll just have to put together a playlist of all the baby sharks out there. And then we'll have a contest. Whoever sings Baby Shark the best gets to name this app.
I like it.
All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just creating like some basic skeletons of what I want this thing to look like. So here's the dive site card, and then here's the dive site name, and then here's where that dive site is located country-wise. So I'm just gonna group this all together, create a grid, and look, I have like 8 dive sites now. All right,
That was so easy.
it was so fast.
Can you believe that Repeat Grid has been in XD since the beta?
This is my favorite part of XD.
It's so good.
It's so easy. Actually, I'm gonna take that back. The performance is my favorite
Oh,
part
well,
because
yeah.
it's really fast. Like
And once you start
just going
dragging
away.
images into Repeat Grid and then text files into Repeat Grid, oh, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I heard some things that the team are, I can't say anything, but the team's looking how to, where to take Repeat Grid next.
Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff they're thinking about.
You can't give us any
Nah,
spoilers.
that's all I'm such a tease. That's all I can say.
That's so sad.
I know, I'm sorry. But it's cool.
All right.
Talon's probably sitting there saying, don't say anything.
Okay, so I have this guy. Let's rename this to Indonesia. Raja Ampat is another dive site that's really famous. It's actually, I think it's the second, or it's probably on par with the Great Barrier Reef in Australia.
Really?
Yeah, Raja Ampat has some like amazing. So I've heard. I haven't been, but I'm saving
One
up
day.
to go.
Yeah.
But they apparently have like one of the most diverse ecosystems underwater, which is pretty amazing. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just like trying to mock it up to see what it would look like if you like swipe through this way.
Right.
So like here I'm starting off with Sail Rock and then I go like this and then I'm at Raja Ampat and then I can do another one here. What's another dive site? We can use the Great Barrier Reef. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
That's okay because this is just a mock-up. This is just wireframe stage, so we can like tweak all this later.
Right.
One thing that I probably should do is start to incorporate styles so that
Yeah.
once I establish what fonts I want to use and at what size, it'll be super easy to just like make one change and have it apply it across.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna, add this character style as dive site header. And then add this guy as country. So I know some people use like H1, H2, H3, like all of those headings and like have it more semantic that way. I should probably do that, but what I found helpful for me is just to use like the functional bits and then later go back and clean it up.
Yep.
So that way I can just like recycle it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I usually don't use the H1, H2 for the labels.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
more-
hard to
yeah.
know. Like when do I use H3 versus
Right.
H4?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then you need like a H3.5 and you're like, oh.
Oh, yeah. And how do you usually pick your fonts? Are they different on the mock-up phase versus?
They
Yeah.
are. What I'll try to do in the mock-up phase is just establish scale.
Mm-hmm.
So like the 3 scales that I usually use are like small, big, medium.
Right.
And
It's
then,
easy.
and then like once I go into that visual design cleanup, then that's when I'll go and try to choose fonts and pair them and make sure that everything is like has a consistent baseline and all of that. So
Nice.
usually it's just like spending hours on Adobe font or like any font library and then seeing like what works together and then like
All the time, just
Yeah.
scrolling through fonts on Adobe Fonts. Now you can sync
It's so
all the fonts,
fun.
all of them.
Wait, what?
There's unlimited font syncing now on Adobe
Really?
Fonts. Yeah, if you want to, you can sync
Oh.
like all 15,000. I don't recommend it, but you can do
That
it.
sounds like it would slow down your computer.
It
a
probably
lot.
would.
All right. Okay. So now that I think you get the point here, like you're just scrolling through the carousel. So let's dive in and build out this dive site detail view. So let's say I clicked on this Great Barrier Reef guy. Oops. And I want to learn more about it. So I'll just go like this. This is the same image and it'll just like pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's my text. So as you can see, this is not very scientific. I'm not very clean when it comes to mocking stuff up. I
That's
just
okay.
kind of get it out there on
Yep.
the screen and then we'll clean it up later. And then I think so I wanted to include like the level of what this dive site will be, as well as like good for.
Aaron was wondering what your favorite font is. He said, my favorite font is Comic Sans.
Comic Sans. I actually, so
Uh-oh.
okay, Comic Sans is not my favorite font.
Okay.
I I actually have a bunch of favorite fonts, but Comic Sans is not one of them. But I do use Comic Sans at work because a lot of times, so when we share design files, there are a lot of people who are trying to access that file. So
Yep.
it's not just the designers, but there are also the developers, there are marketing people who are in there. There's like business ops, and a lot of different stakeholders will look at your work. And so what I'll do is anytime I have works in progress and I want to make that very clear, I'll use Comic Sans font in like hot pink size 48 and just say like, this is a work in progress, or like I'll add a bunch of questions around and be like,
I've heard that a lot.
yeah, so that way it's very obvious, like this is not final. Just keep that in mind as
Yep.
you're working through this file.
Yeah, and if you have that in your assets panel, you can very easily change it.
Exactly. And
All
then I'll also have like this little star icon with a smiley face. It kind of looks like the Carl's Jr. logo.
Oh.
And then I'll just stick that on like whatever screens that I like, so people know that that's the direction that I'm going in.
Nice.
But it's not final, so.
Looks like we're just about at chat and win. Oh, there's the fireworks. I summoned them. So in just a second, we're gonna take a very quick break, and when we come back, let us know in the chat what your favorite font is. If you say Comic Sans, we're going to kick you out. Not really. And then we'll pick a random winner, and that winner will win 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule. We'll see you in a second. Uh-oh. Oh, are we on? Oh, there we are. Hello. It looked like we were 8 miles under the ocean for a second. Pitch black. But we're back, so let us know what your favorite font is. I see a lot of DINs. I've been using that recently. DIN Condense is a good one. Roboto.
Jokerman. I haven't seen that one in a while.
There's the Papyrus. I knew that was coming. Ginger, Product Sans, San Francisco. Oh, that's a good one. Apple's font. It's not bad.
That's a few I.
Yeah, Helvetica. It's always, Helvetica's always fun.
Is coffee a font, Andrew?
Sounds delicious. I like fonts that sound like they would be tasty.
Yeah, for sure. It makes designing more fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, Freight Sans is a good one too.
Yeah. Lato. I've heard that a lot. Well, in just a second or two, while you're all still doing this, a winner will pop up right above us. And if the algorithms are doing their thing, maybe. They may not be. The algorithm might be broken. This is fun. Futura, Garmin, Pacifico, Helvetica, Proxima Nova. All right. Well, while the winner is being chosen by the algorithm that be, let's dive back in and see where we're at.
So, we were working on the dive detail side. Okay, one thing that I should probably be better at is renaming my layers so I know what I'm designing.
Oh, there we go. Bethlehem Burka. There we go.
Nice.
We have a winner.
Congratulations.
Oh, wait. That was the winner from last stream. We have technical difficulties. All right, so so while they're figuring that out again, you bring up a good point, because I'm totally guilty of not naming my layers or my artboards. But as of the December update, right? Yeah, I lose track of updates. And I don't want to say anything about the January update because that would be bad. It's not out yet. As of the December update, you can now search in your layers panel.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that what this guy?
Yeah.
That's probably what this
So
guy's
previously it was just your assets panel, but now it's your layers panel. So if you have your layers named properly, then it's so much easier to search properly. So you can filter by just text layers, then you can search within those text layers. And speaking of text layers, we have one right here.
Yay!
Jeff Snow is our winner, making it snow, and he. Oh, no.
You're already warmed up.
I don't know. I have nothing.
Nice.
Take it.
I'm very
Paco's
excited to
cracking
see
up.
all of the stickers that you create.
Yeah.
Do they get to create it?
I think so.
And then-
you get 100 free stickers.
Nice.
Yeah, and if you did not win, if you go to stickermule.com/Adobe Live 19, you get 10 stickers for $1, which is still not
Ooh,
bad.
That's a good deal
Yeah.
too. Jeff, you should create a Comic Sans sticker and share them with everyone so that we can all revel together.
Man.
All right. Okay, so let me try your tip on renaming these, and then let's try to search them.
Yeah.
So this guy is home. Actually, all of these guys are home. Oops. Home. Home. Maybe I can name it like scroll 2, like to the second position.
That works.
Scroll 3. And then this guy.
Dane, this is only tea, I promise.
Dive site.
Like you can see the little tea bag over here. Just tea.
Okay, so you were saying if I rename these guys, like dive site carousel, and then if I go back and I search here carousel.
There it is.
Nice. That's so cool.
I know, it's super helpful.
Yeah. That'll motivate me to not keep my layers named like
I know.
rectangle 306.
I keep questioning myself, and it's so difficult to do it from the beginning because I'm so used to not naming anything.
Yeah.
And you gotta force yourself.
Okay. Well, you guys probably don't want to see me rename layers, so I will clean that up later. But let's go ahead and flesh out the rest of these screens. So this one level, say beginner. This is good for people who like fish. I don't know. I'm just like adding placeholder content for now. We can like put actual content in later when we're doing the visual styles.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do want to do here is I want to make this like a caption text style. So let's make it a little bit smaller and then add that as a character style. Caption. And we'll change this guy to caption too. Okay. And then, so we have that. We also want to add like text about the Great Barrier Reef. So this is some content that will tell us about the Great Barrier Reef.
Do you use lorem ipsum at all?
I don't. I used to, but I find that I don't know. I like using real content when I can.
Yeah.
I know that lorem ipsum would probably be appropriate here because I'm just making up content that doesn't make sense right now. But I like to make sure that all of my mockups have like realistic content because you never know
That's true.
how it's gonna look. Especially when things are over designed and you don't test it with real content. You might notice things like this where the text goes off the
Right.
card, and so you
yeah,
have
that's
to
a good
like
point.
take into account like responsiveness, and maybe like things aren't readable once they like span like 8 lines. So
Yeah.
it's just some things to keep
That's a
in
good
mind.
point, yeah. And if anyone does use or wants to use lorem ipsum, there is a plugin within XD. And there's also a million websites that have different types of lorem ipsum, like cupcake ipsum.
There's
or,
hipster ipsum.
Yes, that one, bacon ipsum is good too, if you're not offended by bacon. But yeah, there's a lot of fun ones to give a little bit of flair to your project. I'm sure there's for Val. Oh, there. I was about to say I'm sure there's a Star Wars ipsum, but she beat me to it.
Wait, cat ipsum?
Hmm.
That's unique. I haven't heard of that one before.
There's an ipsum for anything.
Alright, so this is like tips. And then we want to add a big button to let people view the field guide. So let's create a big button here. If I can spell, that would be helpful.
We're designers, we don't have to spell.
Guide. And then we'll bump this up to...
At least there's spell check in XD now.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
I just ignore all the like pink underlines because I always misspell stuff.
Yeah.
But I should probably start paying attention to that. Okay, so we'll go like this. I'm gonna group this and convert this to a symbol so that we can reuse this button style on other screens. Okay, so that's the dive site detail page. And then once users click on the view field guide, they'll be taken to like a little carousel where they can learn about the different animals that they're gonna see. So let's create that, which is gonna look like, oops, this. I'm just gonna borrow this guy. Actually, no, I'm not. Let's do this. So, manta ray. I don't even know if there are manta rays in Australia.
There are
We'll
now.
fact check later. So I don't need these.
And while you're doing that, as Val mentioned, there's about 50 minutes left before the challenge submission deadline. So if you want Christine and myself to take a look at your photo galleries made in Adobe XD, make sure to hit that challenge tab up there and get them in. Pinsky Ipsum will be just filled with dad jokes. I like your thinking, Kevin.
So we got this. And then I also want to add a little progress indicator to show how many animals are in this carousel. So I'm just going to draw a circle and then use repeat grid because it's easy.
Repeat grid for everything.
The nice thing too is like if you modify just one of these guys, like I want to make it smaller maybe. Oops. 10, and then I can like adjust the spacing somehow. There we go. I can make it like that.
So good.
And then I also want to show the progress. I'm just going to copy one and fill it in. Oops. There's a lot of Control Z's in my workflow. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the limitations right now in repeat grid is you can't override a single element.
Yeah.
But that, you know, that might be something that's coming in the future.
I feel like that would be helpful, especially like for something like this. Well, I guess, no, not for this, but for progress indicators. That's the only use case that I would see it for. But
Yeah.
okay, so we want to repeat this, and let's say we see a king crab. This one is a, I don't know, sea slug. And a whale shark will be our last one. Oops.
We need a baby shark one.
Do they live in Australia?
I don't know. They live everywhere.
All right. Baby shark.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that these guys follow the progress. To this is page 3.
So apparently manta rays are massive. Did you know that?
I
Are
have
they?
not.
Gusbot over there says they're huge.
Don't they like cast a shadow as they like swim over you?
I don't know. I've never seen one. Now I'm scared.
They're very friendly.
Oh, okay.
They
They're
are?
friendly.
They're like whales, but they look like sea
They're like whales.
whales. They're filtered.
Aw.
Oh.
I'm still not going to go near one.
I feel like you can't just go though. You have to be very lucky to see one, right? Because they only come out during specific months.
Hmm.
Had to swim with them.
That's so.
You got to
weird.
swim with a manta ray? I'm jealous of Gus.
All right, so I'm using a gray rectangle as my image placeholder. I know some people have like little wireframe kits that they like to use. I personally am a little bit lazy to find one right now, so I'm just gonna do it this way.
Aren't we all?
This guy is also gonna be an image, so I'm gonna make this the same color. And actually, these are all images too. Oops, let me do this. There we go. Because it was repeat grid, it does
Bam.
it all at once. So as you can see, it's not like the most beautiful screen right now, but at least we have like all of our content. We know what the layout's gonna look like, and we can start to see some of the gestures that we're gonna be incorporating.
Yep. And in a lot of ways, the fact that it's not looking beautiful right now is probably better for user experience testing.
That's
Because you're
true.
not really, the users aren't, and maybe even clients, they're not distracted by pretty pictures and fancy colors. They're just focusing on the experience.
Right.
So, you know, sometimes ugly is better.
One
There's the
thing
quote
that
of the day.
ugly is better. One thing that I did have a question about is there an easy way to like batch rename your layers in XD?
I believe there's a plugin
There's a plugin.
that can do it. Yeah, I don't think it's native to the application at the moment.
Got it. One thing that I keep accidentally doing is clicking Command R, but that's the command for repeat grid. And
Oh,
so I'll
yeah.
accidentally like create a bunch of grids instead of renaming the layers.
Yep.
But all right. So look at how many screens we created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's looking good already.
I know that they were copies of previous screens, but yeah, that was pretty fast.
Yep, so there's a plugin called Rename It Imagine that. And the description says, keep your Adobe XD files organized, batch, rename layers, and artboards.
Rename it. Let's try it.
It sounds pretty fancy.
Rename it. Rename selected layers. Let's name this animal. Ooh, cool.
Interesting.
Start from 1.
The more you know.
Oh, and then you can choose like number sequences too. Oops. Oh, it's adding commands. So if I want to do like animal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is what I have here, with descending. Nice.
Wow. That's pretty fancy.
Yeah, that's really neat. Makes things a lot faster. Okay. So we have that. We have our animal detail view. I think one thing we can start doing now is hooking some of these screens up together. I mean, there's a settings screen, but I feel like I can leave that out for now.
Okay.
We'll revisit that once we have a little bit more content and we know how to flesh this out.
Totally.
So what I'll start doing is hooking some of these screens up, and then we can start to get a feel for how all of these pages are connected.
Sounds good.
So I'm gonna go into prototype here.
And how early on in the process do you typically prototype? Do you usually do it after you get a bunch of screens together?
Yeah, so once I have my wireframes like this, at a basic level, I'll just try to connect the screens so that I can test it out on like the mobile device or on like the web device, or basically isolating the prototype from the design side of things, just to make sure that everything connects. Or if I'm backtracking. So if I go through this prototype process, there's actually a lot of missing components that I'll discover. Like usually it's a back button, and now I'm realizing I don't have any back buttons in these screens, so we'll have to add that back in. But as you're prototyping and like hooking all of these screens up, those things do come up a lot often. So that's one reason why I like to make sure that all of these screens are connected at this stage. They don't have to be like super fancy and like all the transition and the duration intact, but they just need to like click and connect and make sure that it goes to the right place.
And at this point, just thinking through what layers you have now, if you did try to use auto animate, for example, it would just explode because layers aren't named properly. You broke some repeat grids.
Right.
So it's better just to have, simple transitions. The drag effect will work.
Yeah.
But other than that, just transition left to right, it'll be great.
Yeah. So let's try the drag and see if it works.
Yeah.
It might not, but I'm really good at breaking things too, so it's
breaking
part of the
things
process.
is how you learn. Yeah, exactly.
It's part of the process.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make this guy tap, and then we'll try auto animate just to see what it does. It's probably gonna break because my labels or my layer names are crazy, but it's okay. And then clicking view field guide should go here. And then, what I should have done is instead of creating all these screens like this, I should have made this whole page a repeatable grid, right? Because it's basically the same template, it's just different content.
Right.
So I'm gonna do that. Sorry. Actually, let me put this down
This is all
here.
part of the design process.
So this guy.
Figure out better ways of doing things.
This guy. Oops. Group that. Make it a repeatable grid. Oops, I made it a symbol. Go like this. And then we'll just rename these to make sure that the transitions work okay. And let's say Barracuda. I don't know if those exist in Australia either. Right. And then we can now that we have that fancy new plugin, we can rename our layers. So rename it, rename selected layers, animal, descending. Yay, okay.
Look at that. That was fast.
And then we just want to make sure that these are all in the right position.
So for those just joining, just like Sumaya, Christine is designing a mobile app for scuba diving, which is super cool because I know nothing about scuba diving. I'm learning a lot, and Baby Shark will be incorporated somehow into this.
I'm really excited about that voice command thing. Curious to see how that goes. Oops. There has to be a better way to do this, right? Am I not using my time efficiently?
I think you're doing it right.
Manta ray, sea slug. Oops. There we go.
Yeah.
Whale shark.
Also, Kevin's saying that the Baby Shark theme song should only play in the Baby Shark page. That's a valid concern.
That's a good, yeah.
Good feedback, Kevin. This is why user testing is so important.
Maybe we can have a Baby Shark in every country, and then it'll localize, you know?
Ooh.
So,
it'll have the
depending on
accent
where
of
you
that
are.
country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so this isn't 100% perfect because my indicators are off, but that's okay. We can fix that later. Also, my notch disappeared, but that's okay. We can fix that later too. Right now, I just want to make sure that everything is hooked up correctly. So this is hooked up correctly. This guy, if I drag it, I hope it'll work. Let's see, we'll find out. Drag. Drag. Okay. So, should I do it
Go for it.
on my phone or
Oh. You could do that.
will it show up? I guess we could use this GoPro, right?
Yeah. You can also, oh, they might have to hook something up separately, but that's okay. We can put the GoPro. That works. And I should note that because this is saved as a cloud document, you can also access it without a wire in your Adobe XD app.
I can?
Yeah.
Oh, now you can see my iTunes library from 2011.
We're gonna judge you.
All right. Wait, so if I don't plug this in and I can just access it from XD?
Yep. As long as you have a decent connection. There it is.
Sites. Nice. Okay.
And
cool.
all the auto animation stuff and drag will work just fine.
Okay, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I think I prefer prototyping and then testing it on the mobile device is because that's where users are going to end up using it. Whereas if you're on the computer, it's easy to like scale it, and then like the gestures aren't necessarily native because you're using your like mouse and you have to click and make sure that everything is timed correctly. So I just want to be on the platform that I'm designing for. So let's try it and see if it works. So here we have our home screen. If I drag it, it works. The transition's a little bit janky, but we're gonna fix that.
The layer names probably weren't. There you go. Now they're
that
correct.
One worked.
Yeah.
Okay. So, oops. And then if I click on Great Barrier Reef, it'll like transition out, and I can scroll down. That obviously needs to be fixed. Here's my content. If I click on View Field Guide, I can see all of my animals now. So if I scroll through and drag, there's my king crab, sea slug. I mean, like the progress indicators are all off, but that's okay. Whale shark, baby shark, barracuda. So.
If we plug this in, we should be able to see the phone on. Oh look, Nathan tried rename it just what he needed. Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool plugins. There we go. Fancy. We don't even need to go.
So
I'll keep
now
it
I don't need to do it upside down. That's cool. Okay, so I can just like, I'm just scrolling through to see like what's on there. And I think I'm okay. I'm happy with this scale. I think this is how big I want things to be. I feel like this app should be a very visual app and let the content stand front and center rather than like the app trying to stand front and center.
Yeah.
So
especially when you're talking about like underwater images and things like that. Those are beautiful images. You want to showcase them as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the next thing that I'll start doing is then looking for some of those images.
Yeah.
Because this, I mean, it's not as visually pleasing. So let's head to Adobe Stock. So if you look at like underwater creatures, there's a ton of options. I was actually really shocked by how many options there were.
I know,
on
there are
stock.
so many images and illustrations if you even need those
Yeah.
on Adobe stock. It's crazy.
So look, like there's like cute little dolphins and seals
Oh.
and sea slugs.
This looks so happy.
Yeah. And even like within the sea slug variety, so if you look up, oops. So Adobe stock doesn't play well with my computer. Every time it kind of just freezes. Anyways, as we let that do its thing.
Interesting. Maybe someone from the stock team is watching.
Yes.
File a bug report.
Please help me load my options faster. Anyways, so I actually went ahead and took a look through the library and found a bunch of stock photos. So the nice thing about Adobe stock is as you're browsing through the gallery, you can save them to libraries.
Right.
And then you can save them as previews. And then if you like them, you can license them. And if you don't, you can just like leave them as inspiration or just to see that like you've saved them.
Yeah.
So
And one of the newer features I think that was released not too long ago with stock is if you're looking for a very specific, if you want to keep a specific style of all your images,
yeah.
you can find one and then you save that and then drag that into Adobe stock. And it'll find images, let's say underwater images that look like this image. So it kind of keeps that color scheme or keeps, you know, whatever it might be. It's kind of cool.
Let's try it.
I can hear your computer about to take off.
It's a really old computer, but also the internet doesn't work super well on this computer. Yeah, I'm due for an upgrade. So this is a library that I created called Dive Sites, and
Nice.
I went through and I found a bunch of photos that I liked. And so like here are all of my different animals that I want to incorporate. Here's like, this is actually Raja Ampat in Indonesia. So
Nice.
this is like basically just a ton of islands, and you like all of those islands have like distinct ecosystems that you can take a look at and dive. And then I also got some like generic photos if I wanted to use them as like an app background, just, you know, saving options. And then I actually don't think this is a photo. It kind of looks like CGI. So that's why I didn't end up licensing it. And you'll see like that's why it has a Adobe stock watermark. Actually, no, that's not true. That's even on licensed photos too. So if I click on this guy, is this what you're talking about? Like the related photos?
No,
from
if
the
you
series?
you have that one saved on your computer?
Yeah.
Okay, so go to Finder. And I think if you just drag that into Adobe stock, like on the browser, it'll upload that and then it'll let you search for similar images, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah, so those are similar images. Then you can
Whoa.
actually, at the top, there was like, you can filter it by just content or color or composition. It's really cool stuff.
Huh.
Yeah.
That is really important because that's one of the things that I had trouble with when I was building out the beer app is you want a very specific aesthetic.
You
and
do.
it's hard to like search through all of the stock photos.
Yep.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And now I know.
Cool stuff.
So great. All right. So let's see. So these are all my photos. Okay, let's try to drag some of these guys into this wireframe and then we'll see how it starts to look visually.
Yep.
One question,
Sure.
does XD have version history?
It doesn't. Not yet.
Got it.
But it is being worked on. And that's one of the things that Cloud Documents is kind of setting the path for.
Gotcha.
So it's coming.
All right. So then in that case, I'm gonna duplicate this just because I want to keep my wireframes and my visuals separate.
Right, yeah.
So I will call
I
this
do that often.
Dive Sites. What am I calling this? Visual design. I'm gonna minimize the windows that I don't need. Alright, so visual design. So if I go
Munir has an
here-
interesting question. Do you have any tips for someone who has never attended design school and is learning graphic design, UI, and UX and never had a mentor?
Yeah, I actually didn't formally attend design school either. Well, I went to school for architecture, so I guess it's like a tangential design field. So a lot of the foundational principles are similar, but as far as like product design goes, I didn't really have that before I started my career. I would say like the internet is an amazing resource.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there who are willing to help you learn and put out awesome content. Actually, Howard, don't you have like all of these XD
I do.
tutorials? I was like looking through them. I was like, oh, this is how I auto
You may
animate.
find my
Cool.
face once in a while.
Yeah, so if you look on YouTube, there are a ton of like step-by-step videos that
Yep.
you can follow along to recreate certain screens. If you just Google, there's a bunch of blog posts out there and tutorials. Adobe, actually, I rely on a lot, the Adobe blog. They have a lot of cool tips on like best practices for mobile design, best practices for web design, just things to keep in mind, like 2018 trends. So yeah, I would say use the
Lots of
internet
gradients.
as your resource.
Yeah, I would agree because I went to school for 3D animation, so nothing even similar to UI and UX. And
Yeah.
I did the same thing. I learned from mostly online tutorials.
Right.
And things like lynda.com, or I guess it's now LinkedIn Learning or Udemy or any of those websites that have very comprehensive structured courses are great if you're just getting started. And then for little tips and tricks, YouTube is a fantastic place.
Right. And then as far as like mentors, if you want to seek out a mentor, I feel like people are pretty open to requests. So if you find like a designer that you really admire their work on Dribbble or on Twitter, or just like reach out to them, send them a
Yep.
cold email, be like, hey, like I'm learning design, love to pick your brain on XYZ, and don't don't expect an answer tomorrow, but I'm sure that they're more than happy to respond.
Yeah, we've had a few guests on Adobe Live who have grown. I think Michael Kotchenberger was one of them. Peter Del Tondo was his mentor, and then he built up his portfolio enough that he was a guest right here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so mentors are very very beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, designers love talking about design. So
That's
if you
true.
have questions, just like, reach out to people and I'm
Yeah.
sure that they'll be happy to answer.
Absolutely.
All right. So, okay, let me start dragging some of these guys in. Here's my photo of a barracuda that I found on Adobe Stock.
Oh, look at that.
They look pretty scary,
Mm-hmm.
but they're cool. They don't hurt you. They don't bite. I'm gonna just, oops, what did I do? Just gonna plop that in here. What happened? Okay, there you go. There's my barracuda. I have a photo of a whale shark somewhere here. Drag that guy in.
Thank you, Val. That's one of the channels. That's my channel.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have a bunch of XD and Photoshop stuff on there, but there's a lot of really great people. Dan White, who was a guest on Adobe Live a few weeks ago, also makes some great Illustrator and Adobe XD videos as well. And Andrea Hawk, who was also a guest on that same stream, she just released I think it was a 10-minute video getting started in Adobe XD, so check that out as well. A lot of great people on YouTube offering completely free stuff.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
It's like, how is this amazing content just accessible from anywhere? Wonders of the internet.
Yeah, you can learn anything.
Oops, that's not a manta ray. I think I'm doing something wrong because I think it's like repeating all the images in that carousel.
Yeah, that's the way repeat grid. So what you might have to do is drag, no, actually you can drag them all into, so select all the images and then drag them into the repeat grid.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But they have to be in order, right?
They do. So you could rename them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Let's do
based on
that.
the order that they're going to appear in.
So this guy's number 3. This is number 2. 2, 3. Whale shark is number 4.
And rearranging content within a repeat grid, I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but that's something that the team is definitely looking into.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a photo of a baby shark. Do you think there's one on Adobe Stock?
There might be. There's got to be. And I'm sure it's adorable.
I'm gonna let that do its thing while I rename my layers. Manta ray. I think I had a manta ray. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're just waiting on 5. As a placeholder, I'll just use this crab situation as our baby
Crab
shark.
situation. I like it.
And then, all right, so if I put it here,
Yep.
yay, okay.
There we go. And you'll
What
probably
happened
have
to
to do
my
the
file?
same for all the other ones, but yeah. Or copy and paste or whatever.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
There you go. Oops, did I
Yep.
put them in Google
I think
Drive?
so. Now
My
Google
bad.
owns them all.
My bee.
And I think,
Uh-huh.
maybe if I'm thinking this through correctly, if you want to get really crazy, you can take the original, you could have taken the original repeat grid, turned it into a symbol, and then if you updated just the first one, they would all update.
Oh,
But that's
that
getting
would be
very,
smart.
that's getting crazy. But I think it would work that way if I'm playing it properly in my head.
Yeah.
But this
okay.
works too.
All right, well, I created as a symbol.
Yeah.
That's not going to help us now.
No, not now, no.
For future reference.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is actually not a king crab. It's actually called a candy crab.
Ooh.
I'm not sure why, but I think like they.
I mean, it looks kind of like I would lick it.
Yeah, so they actually camouflage into the coral, so they live in soft coral, and
Interesting.
then they'll like take the little bits and put them on their body, so that's how they camouflage.
Ah.
And I think because they're so colorful, that's why they're called candy crabs.
I mean, it does look delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some like fun animals like the sea slug. They're actually called nudibranchs. Like that's the name.
Huh.
Nudibranch. But there's like multiple styles of sea slugs. So there's like little sea bunnies, like
Sea
sea rabbits. There's red sea slugs, which is this guy here. Yeah, there's actually, if you go to stock, there's a whole library of nudibranchs. And it's pretty amazing just to see the variety.
Very interesting.
all
I knew nothing about any of this until today.
Now you know, the more you learn.
Yep.
Useless information that you didn't need to know.
You never know when I might use some of this information.
All right, so this photo I also want to drag into Raja Ampat. I also want more dive site photos. Let's just pretend this is from Sail Rock.
Sure.
So all
I wouldn't know the difference.
T1, this guy is T2. And let's pretend this guy's from the Great Barrier Reef. So if I drag that here.
I think everyone's searching sea bunnies now.
Yeah, I think they're called the white, it's the white version, so the white nudibranch. If you look it up, they actually do look like little rabbits.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
super cute. Actually, I'll show you here. Nudibranch white. Sea rabbit.
Oh, these are all so cute.
Yeah, look, it's like,
What?
I mean, it looks kind of gross. Maybe.
What is this?
Not really. It's. Yeah, isn't that cool?
How
It's
is
like a
this
little
thing?
dinosaur.
No one's there to switch my screen, but this is crazy.
They're like little mollusks. Oh, I think this is the one that Howard was looking at. Oops, it froze. But it was this guy up here. So these are all the different sea slugs that you can see at each of the dive sites.
I need to do this now.
And it's really cool because some of them only come out at night, and so they're like neon.
Oh,
And then
can
so
you
you're-
take these home? No, I know you shouldn't do that.
So you like dive in the dark, and then all of a sudden there's this like bright orange thing that flashes across you. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm gonna be searching these things all night.
I feel like you could just make a whole glossary of sea slugs,
Yeah,
and
I
that
think
could
so.
be its own app.
These are crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, so I'm gonna do your tip, which is take this carousel, make it into a symbol, and then take this symbol and then apply it here.
Let's see if it works.
Can I just copy and paste the symbol and it'll know that it's an instance of the symbol?
Yep.
Cool. Good enough. And then this guy. And
So
then-
hypothetically, if you edit one of them, they should all change.
So if I decide,
I really hope I'm right.
let's just say that this one is the first one. Yeah, it looks like they all changed.
They did. Cool.
Nice.
Phew.
Okay.
I was shaking.
And then I think by doing that, I broke some of the drag interactions. Let's see.
Oh, probably.
Drag.
Oh, maybe not. Yeah.
And this one is drag. And then this one is click. And then because we use this photo here, we also want to use that photo here. So let me just drag it in. That's the nice thing about XD is I can just drag it in and it'll know how to like crop it and mask it.
Yeah, the masking is great. And then if you have to, you can always double click on it, move it, resize it or whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
But it's really cool, and it might work at some point when you get to the high fidelity stuff. You can also animate masks.
Oh.
So like as you're dragging those images back and forth, you can have them, like the active one kind of get a little bit larger and the
Yeah.
non-active one get a little bit smaller and have this cool little, almost like a parallax effect.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So something like,
You can get really fancy with some of this stuff.
yeah, that's cool. Like if I wanted to make these guys smaller,
Yeah.
and then it'll like scale in and out.
It may not work so
Automatic.
well in a repeat grid because they'll all
Oh.
kind of, but yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. So as you can see, now that we started adding content to it, there's a lot of things that break. Like all of this text you can't read on
Right.
like such colorful backgrounds. These ones I think are okay, but actually the cropping isn't too bad. I was worried about that.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
But that looks pretty, I mean, we could adjust this one if we wanted to, right? Can I do this?
Should be able to.
I'll figure it out later. Okay, so let's fix the text on this. Actually, this green background and the blue outlines, those are just grids for me to work off
Right.
of. That's a safe space for the iPhone X. So I can actually go ahead and hide that because I don't think I need that. Oops, save area. Actually, I could do this, save area. And then could
there
I
you go.
highlight all of them and then disable them?
I don't think you can do it between groups or between artboards, but yeah, that works.
Okay. Oh, I missed one. All right, so we can start to see what that looks like. Probably need to fix this guy. So now I'm starting to get into the visuals, but this won't be like fully polished. This is just to like start to establish a style guide that
Yep.
might work. So let's go back to design. Make these guys white and white.
How do you typically handle situations like this where you can try 800 colors and they just, some of them will just always blend in with the background?
Yeah, that's when I get lazy and then I'll just add a black background.
Oh, there you go.
So we can make this black. I mean, we can add some opacity
Mm-hmm.
and blending to make it look not so stark. But let's see how this looks. Sail rock. And then this should go under. Oops, I should have created that as a part of the symbol.
I think if you copy it and then go into the symbol and paste it, it'll go in there.
There you go.
And then to
And
move it
forward.
down, I think there's a bug that you can't just drag down. So if you use move back or command left square bracket, it'll move it down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool, that works.
Yeah. Not sure if it's a bug or it prevents you from moving it, but that's one way around it.
All right, so that at least you can read now.
Yep.
I'm not sure that I completely love the visual styling of that, but we can fix that later.
Yeah.
All right, so let me just go back and test it to see if it pulled the updates. Now that we added all the stock images,
Right.
it's
a much
taking a
bigger
while
image,
to
much bigger document now.
load. The progress bar is fun though.
There it goes.
All right, so here's what it looks like. Can drag through my carousel. Oops. And if I click on Sail Rock, that's broken, so I should fix that. And then I scroll down, view field guide. It's my manta ray, candy crab, nudibranch, whale shark, baby shark. Oh, it's like a weird, welcome screen. Halfway through, I'm not sure what I did there, but it's only happening there.
Interesting.
So I should probably fix that. That was weird.
It's all part of the testing process.
Yeah, that was weird too. So this one drags, but this one, I did some kind of weird animation. I'm not quite sure what, but it seems to be like overlaying on top of the welcome screen. Oh, maybe I have like a rogue layer underneath.
Oh, there might be.
So that's why you test before you do anything else. Okay, so I think it was on this screen. Can get rid of that. And this is why you should also rename your layers as you go.
Yeah, especially when you start to do auto animate stuff, renaming your layer or making sure your layer names are up to date across the artboards is so important.
Yeah, so I did have that rogue layer here.
Ah.
So actually, let me look up welcome. And I don't want it on any of my animal screens. I can delete those. So my stomach is crumbling. I'm so sorry, guys.
Mine was doing that all this morning when I was with Josh.
All right, and then I think there was also the status. No, we want the status bar, the home indicator. That's a little notch here. We want that. All right, I think that'll work. One thing we wanted to do was fix this guy. Great Barrier Reef, Australia. Maybe add this here so you can see the contrast as well. All right, so that's what it could start to look like. And one thing we probably need is a back button.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you shouldn't just let users go forward and then get stuck. So let me draw a janky back button here.
When it comes to icons like that, do you typically draw them yourself or do you have a library that you use?
It depends how lazy I'm feeling. So at like work, we have a design system that has a bunch of icons that we can pull from.
Yeah.
So it's super easy just to like pull in and use.
Yep.
If I'm just like mocking stuff up and I'll get back to it later, because I know I'm gonna be coming back and polishing up the visuals,
Right.
then I'll just draw a janky version like this and be like, there's my back arrow and call it a day. But one thing that I just remembered is I have this template that you guys made
Oh, yeah.
that has a bunch of icons here. So I'm just gonna steal
this is available on the XD resources page.
So take that backward arrow and then pop that in here.
There we go. I think
So,
the Apple UI kit also might have back buttons somewhere.
oh yeah, they do have that
Yeah.
native back situation, right?
Yeah. One thing I always love is whenever we start talking about icons, is that people in the chat will just start throwing icon resources in there. I know there's Nucleo app, and there's what's that other one that I used to use? There's a whole ton of. If you do have any suggestions in the chat, put your icon resources in there. I always love seeing those come in.
Like Icons 8?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Noun Project is also really
Noun
good
Project,
if
that's
you're
another
looking
one.
for inspiration.
Yep.
All right. Is this what I want? Maybe. We'll see. So I added a back arrow here. And I want to hook it up to here. So tap to auto animate. And then I also probably want to include this back arrow to this animal detail screen. But instead of using back, I feel like it would be more intuitive to use like some of the native gestures, like swipe left to go back and swipe up to like close. So
kind of like Instagram or like their stories, you can just swipe down if you don't want to see it.
But I'm curious to see like how intuitive that is for most people. So that would be something to usability test if we were going to do like a proper process. But since this is just a side project and I'm like the key stakeholder, I think that's one of the fun things about working on a side project is that it's all your rules. So
Now, one tip for you is as you're, if you go to, let's say, one of those back arrows,
yeah.
and instead of dragging it to a previous artboard, if you break that wire, and you can just have, so just click on it and then do previous artboard. It's not there.
Drag. I saw it yesterday.
Yeah, it should be there. No, it'd be tap. And then
Oh,
try
maybe
just
because
trim.
it's
Oh, there it
not-
is. Go to action, and then previous artboard.
Oh,
There we go. That'll go directly back to the previous artboard, and you can just copy and paste that on all of them. But then, the downside is it doesn't do all the auto animate stuff.
gotcha.
Yeah.
But it'll still like slide in and stuff,
Yep.
right? Let's try it. So if I go here.
And there's about 8 minutes and 25 seconds until the challenge is over for today. So make sure to get those in so you can, Christine and I can take a look at them. And then one of you awesome people will win a 1-year subscription to Creative Cloud.
That is a fantastic deal, by the way.
I know, right? Can't
And
beat
do
that.
so many things with Creative Cloud. Okay, cool. That looks like that works. So
Nice.
I have my Great Barrier Reef page open, and then if I click back, it'll just go back to that page, which is awesome. And then same thing here. If I have my animal page, click back, it'll go back to Great Barrier Reef.
Sweet.
How does it determine what transition to use?
I believe it does the opposite of whichever transition it came from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. What else should we do today?
We've done a lot today so far.
I feel like I went a lot faster than I had planned, so
I know.
maybe we should start looking at visual design and fonts.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So one thing that I like to do is go to the Adobe fonts. And this isn't scientific at all either, but I'll go browse fonts, and I'll pull like a phrase from one of my screens. So maybe it'll be the Sail Rock. And I will, you can see here, I was playing around with it yesterday. Oops. There's a space for sample text, so I can just do this, Sail Rock, Thailand. Oh, this is the upgrade font. Let me go back. There you go. So Sail Rock, Thailand. And then I'll just kind of browse through and see which fonts I like. And usually there's all of these different filters that you can use. So for this particular app, I think I want to use something like sans serif.
Right.
Just because you're going to be outside. There's going to be a lot of sunlight. You want it to be really crisp and easy to read. Whereas I feel like if you have serif, while they are beautiful, I feel like it might not be appropriate for this instance. So
That's true.
let's go with a sans serif.
Comic Sans is easy to read.
It is as a header only, but the
That's
body
true.
copy is a little hard
That
to
is
read.
true.
Do you guys have Comic Sans on here? I'm curious.
No, but I think it comes with your computer. It's like the font that comes with everything.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, sans serif, all paragraphs. Let's look at headings first, just because this is a heading font. And then I think I want it to be a little bit fatter, wider, more geometric. So, as you can see, you have a lot of options to choose from. I think I'm gonna stick to the one that I found yesterday, which is Mr. Eve's XL. I don't know, I just like the look of this. It feels fun and playful and
It
approachable.
does, and there's some nice weights to it too.
Yeah. But I'm actually seeing a bunch of fonts that you guys mentioned in the chat, like Fira Sans I saw come up, and Proxima Nova definitely came up. So
Yeah, that's a good one.
if you're looking for a favorite font, you can also browse through Adobe fonts and find a new one. Okay, so all I had to do was make these fonts active and then they just automatically downloaded and I could use them in XD. So to show you, I can activate, oops, Fira Sans, just for funsies. And then if I go back into XD and I update this character style.
So I think at the moment, and I could be wrong, but I believe you might have to quit XD and then open it up again for that
Really?
font activation. I could be wrong.
Oh, it worked automatically for me yesterday.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Fira Sans.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I guess that was fixed.
Yay. Wait, did it actually commit though? Oh yeah, there we go, it committed. Cool. Actually I'm gonna go back to Mr. Eves because I like the look of that better.
That does look nice.
And then also make sure that this guy is Mr. Eves. Maybe I want to make it this one also Mr. Eves. The nice thing is because I added this as a character style, it's just automatically updating all the cards.
Yeah,
So
I love that about
as you can see, like Raja Ampot now has Mr. Eves.
Nice.
This one is Great Barrier Reef. It's Australia. Okay. And I probably should have used this. So this is a dive site header. Oops. Mr. Eves. Ugh. This one I'm gonna add as a body. Oops.
Both Chris and Kevin said they left for like 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden you have a fully functioning app.
It's nice that everything is just in one tool.
Yeah.
So you don't have to switch back and forth. Yeah, it's super fast. This is body copy. I think I'm gonna bump up the body copy a little bit. See how that looks. And also, I don't know if Mr. Eves is working as body copy, so we might have to find another font. Because it's not super legible. What if we try bumping up the line height? No, that's not helping. Yeah, so I feel like in this stage of the design process for visual design, for me personally, it's not my absolute favorite. I actually really enjoy like the beginning parts where you're doing more of that brainstorming and the end where you're working with the engineers to make your designs come to life. The visual design is where I struggle a little bit, so that's where it's more like trial and error. So
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth, and when it comes to things like this, and I found myself just trying hundreds of fonts
yep.
on one single design, and sometimes you're never happy with it.
Right.
We have 1 minute until the challenge is over. So if you have any last minute entries, definitely get them in there before we wrap this up.
All right, so this is what it's starting to look like. I think I might want to try a fun background here because it's looking a little bit too white.
Yeah.
Let's try this ocean background that I downloaded from stock. Whoa.
That could work with a few little tweaks. Yeah.
Does it look too celestial? It looks kind of like a sky instead of the water.
Oh, a little bit. But I think a background could be an interesting idea if you can find the right one. And again, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about the fonts, is you can be
Right.
trying 8,000 backgrounds, and then maybe you'll find the right one.
Yeah.
Or if you're living in 2018 still, just grab a fancy gradient and throw it back there.
Make sure it's purple and orange.
Yes. That's kind of nice. It kind of just like very subtle at the top left. I like that.
All right, let's go with this then.
And there's enough of a contrast between the images and that like dark blue
Yeah.
that it doesn't blend too much.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I want to make these cards rounder so they look clickable. Because right now it's looking too like boxy. So let's go ahead and update. Whoa, what did I do? That's cool. What did I do?
I think you rotated it. Oh, look at that.
Whoa. So I'm just like twisting it on my trackpad and I can rotate things?
Now they're dancing.
They're dancing to Baby Shark. Weird. Okay. That's a nice hidden keyboard shortcut. Let's go back to my rectangle here. And then add some corner radius. I'm gonna go extreme, like 10. Remove the border. We'll make it 2018 and add that dribble drop shadow.
Of course.
I think that's good for now. You even see it?
Very subtly. It's
because
there.
the background is so dark.
Yeah, that's okay.
And then this guy, I want to make sure that this matches the corner radius as well. So we'll make it 0, 0, 10, 10.
And once you finish that, we do have some challenges to take a look at.
Nice.
Cool. So let us switch over to my screen. And here we go. So we have our first challenge. Again, the challenge was to create a photo gallery, either web or mobile, using Adobe XD. So this was the first one that was submitted during our stream from Ben. And we do have some hot spots. So if you just click off of it, mobile, desktop. Oh, there we go. Scrollable gallery. Show more. Okay. So what are your thoughts on the mobile gallery?
I like the variety of sizes because I
Yeah.
feel like it keeps things interesting. Because if you have like a list of content and it's all the same, it can get old after a while.
Right.
So I like that you broke it up into different sizes. And I feel like it works really well because the photos that you've chosen, I feel like are optimized for the screens that you chose as well. Because like some of them are more landscape, so it makes sense to have them more rectangular and
It's true,
horizontal.
yeah.
And some of them work better as squares.
Yeah, so maybe in the app it would actually like be dynamic.
Yeah.
So depending on if it is, landscape photo, it would automatically stretch
Right.
out. And then there's the desktop version.
Clever use of hotspots, by the way.
Yeah. All right, so basically the same thing, but a little bit larger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I would say you watch your spacing. So the spacing here is a little bit different than the spacing here.
Mm-hmm.
So keep in mind that the spacing should be the same throughout the application. Yeah, cool. Woo. Where'd it go? I lost the button at the bottom. Awesome. So that was from Ben. Great job, Ben. Thank you. Next one is from Aaron, who I believe is in the chat as well. I love this presentation. I love when, device frames are used to kind of showcase what you're designing.
Yeah, because it puts it in context. Like, people aren't ever going to see this screen, and then you
Yeah.
always forget to account for the notch.
Oh, so many times, all the
You're
time.
like, why
I do
can't I
that.
just put the icon there? Oh,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Or the fact that you
exist.
can't really have anything down here as a clickable
Right.
because of that home indicator.
Yeah.
Oh, you have an animation.
Ooh.
Ooh. Aaron's getting fancy.
Nice.
I can't wait for Auto Animate to work on the web. That's going to be so cool. Soon.
Does it only work on desktop or mobile?
It works on mobile and on your desktop.
Right.
But if you publish something to Behance like this and you embed your prototype, it just defaults to a transition, like a crossfade.
I see.
But soon, I can't say when, you'll be able to actually interact with prototypes on Behance or embedded prototypes, and the animations will work, which is going to be super cool. Yeah, this would really. I love the filtering. Where is it? That little filter option at the top, wherever it was. Let me go back here. Yeah, that one. I love that. Play.
Yeah, being able to display it in a grid or
Yeah.
list view.
Yeah. Nice job, Aaron. If you are still here, that was great.
Yeah, the animation feels really like slick and smooth.
Yeah.
It feels good.
And Nell's pointing out my notifications. I have way too many up
Oh my
there.
God.
I don't even want to look. This one is from Danielle. Let's see, or Diana? Danielle? I don't know. Let's see, we have lots of hotspots. So we can click on all images. Okay. Now with something like this, would you want to see a little bit of spacing or some borders on these images?
I actually don't mind this.
Okay.
If it's more of like a collections view where you're trying to
Right.
sort through all of the content that you have. Yeah, I don't mind it.
Nice.
It feels like Instagram-y.
It does. Just lets you go through the photos. Okay.
One thing I will say though is when you're in that detail view and you're looking at the photo and there's a back button,
Oh yeah.
like having something to visually balance it on the other side I think would be helpful too. Because it feels like there's a lot of white space there, and I wonder if there's a way to better balance that.
Yeah, and definitely, don't be afraid to look at current applications. Let's see what they do. So they put like just 3 little dots at the top.
Yeah.
And that could take you to a menu to report the photo if you have to, or whatever it might be. Yeah, it's a good point. Just put something up here to balance it. Let's see what else. We have favorites down here. Okay, so a very similar gallery. And then latest. Okay, so basically the same thing. Nice. Good job, Daniel or Danielle or Diana. Don't know which name to go for, but great job. And then finally we have Ashy, who I just saw in the chat a second ago. And there's Aaron. So this one is from Ashy. Nice photography. Lily flower. Okay.
Nice. It's super easy. I like that you're putting the focus on the content, which is the photography.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can even scale it up a little bit more.
Oh,
so
probably.
that it has, like Ashi's photography, I wonder if you go into that single portrait view, maybe you can make the logo a little bit smaller so that.
Yeah, you can also
blend
put it
more.
like right in line with the back arrow.
Yeah.
Kind of like on, again, Instagram, it just says Instagram right up here, very small. That way you have all this space for your photos. I would also say probably lose the drop shadow down here.
Yeah, because
Even though it's
everything
very
else
subtle.
is pretty flat.
Yeah, just keep it nice and flat.
Unless you wanted to add a drop shadow to the photo and then add depth to everything,
Right.
but there is too much of a contrast there.
Yeah. Awesome. Great job. So there'll be more challenges tomorrow if you did not get to participate today. And then, one of these challenges from this stream and all the other streams will win a 1-year subscription to the Creative Cloud,
Nice.
which is awesome.
That's really amazing.
Yeah. Cool. So let's hop back over to your screen, take a look at what you've done, and we can do some, final tweaks if we want to.
Okay.
I know you've done a lot today.
Yeah, I got a little further than I thought I would. So what we did was we added this background, and I think I like where it's going.
I like it. It's really nice.
I wonder if I'm gonna take my own critique. I wonder if it needs something up here to balance out the welcome.
A search icon maybe?
Maybe, yeah. Once we add the filters in.
Yeah.
Because I think this looks and feels better than the stark
It
white
does,
background.
absolutely.
So let me go ahead and add that to all the screens. And
anyone in the chat, if you have final questions for Christine for today, definitely throw them in there because we definitely have time to answer some of them.
all right, if I use symbols properly, it probably wouldn't take me as many clicks.
You know what? We might have. Oh, we do. We have more.
More challenges?
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you, Val. All right, and Nell, don't go anywhere. We have 2 more challenges, and one of them's yours. So let's hop back over to my screen for just a second. So this one is from Anel, who is in the chat. And okay, so this is a Behance project, and I would assume there's some auto animation. Nice, very fast. I would say maybe slow the prototype down just a little bit so we can see each step.
So you're adding the photo to a collection?
I think so.
Social sharing?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
Let's play that one more time. Yeah, the design looks really nice. Again, just slow it down just a little bit so we can see step by step. But yeah, good job.
I think since this is a Behance project, it might be cool to have all of the screens
Yeah.
on the project as well, and then also have the video to tie them all together, just so we can look at each screen individually.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about Behance, because you have, obviously you have Dribble and you have Behance. Dribble's really for those final, really nice looking shots.
Yeah.
And then Behance, I love seeing the progress.
Right.
So seeing how you started it, any research you've done, and then like you were saying, all the different screens to kind of lead up to maybe a final working prototype. So yeah, Nell, if you do get some additional minutes, maybe throw in some of those screens and maybe slow down that prototype just a little bit so we can see exactly what's going on. But good job.
You should go enjoy your dinner.
Yeah. And this one was from Ahmed, I believe. So we have a flamingo. Oh, okay. And we have some stuff down here. I don't think you can scroll. You can print it.
Ooh.
Ooh, interesting.
Wireless printer?
Ooh, I haven't seen that one yet. But you can wirelessly print. Okay, you can go back. Nice. And was that? I think that was it. Yeah, it's a nice, it's an interesting layout. You have a large photo on the left and then a few smaller ones on the right.
The transitions feel good.
They do. They're not too fast, not too
Yeah.
slow. And then printing. I don't think I own a printer.
I don't either.
That's definitely targeted at a very niche audience these days.
They have those like HP sprockets.
Oh, those
Have you
little
seen those?
portable ones?
Yeah,
those are
I
cool.
wonder if that's what this is targeting.
Maybe. That would be, yeah, this
The
could be an
size
app
looks like
for
it.
like one of those sprockets.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. Nice job.
I like the collage look
Yeah.
on the gallery page.
Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. So let's hop back over to your screen again. There we go. Yeah, this is looking great.
All right. One thing that I also want to figure out is, now that we've eliminated the white space here, do we want to add a background to this big white space chunk here? Or like, even in these animal screens, do we want to bring it all the way down? But then the cropping gets a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Like, here's like half of a manta ray. That's not helpful. So I think I might keep it like this, but maybe use a background color. Let's try it. Maybe like this blue. Make it darker. And then make these guys white.
That could work.
Looks like there's a border somewhere that I'm not sure how it got there. Is it on the grid? Oh, there we go. Nope. It's in here somewhere. Where is it? There we go. Okay.
Aha. That's where we need Adobe Sensei to just tell it, find the border and get rid of
Voice
it.
command. Adobe, tell me where the border is. I think that might work. Let's try it on the other screens. I should have set this up as a symbol.
Yeah,
That would have made
that's
life
okay.
a lot easier.
It's always tricky when you're working with dark backgrounds because sometimes it affects the readability
Right.
of stuff, but sometimes sometimes it could work.
Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Remember how we talked about there's day dives and night dives?
Yeah.
We can split that here too.
Oh yeah.
Because we probably want to include a setting for it. Because all of these darker ones, they're mostly night creatures.
Maybe the dark background could be for the night dives.
Yeah.
And the light background could be for the day dives.
It's kind of like
Get
dark
fancy.
mode and light
Yeah.
mode. That's so trendy nowadays. All right, so this guy's dark.
Speaking of dark mode, would you use dark mode in Adobe XD?
I would.
Okay.
Are you guys working on it?
I don't know.
Oh,
But I know that it's one of the most requested features.
yeah.
'Cause a lot of people were asking about it during my stream this morning with Josh.
Oh,
So it's something that a lot of people want.
yeah.
I think at this point, speaking with the XD team, it's all about priorities.
Yeah.
So there are things like hover or resizable symbols
Yeah.
that definitely have to take priority over dark mode.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that they're thinking about. Maybe even working on. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, resizability and hover, I would want to
Yep.
see that before dark mode,
Yep.
but I feel like dark mode is super helpful for if you have those like late night spurts
Right.
of creativity and you want to work like in your room in the dark, having a white screen pop out at you
I know.
isn't super helpful. But hopefully you're sleeping instead of actually working, so
No.
it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
I'm not. I use dark mode all the time in Photoshop, and I remember
Yeah.
this one time when I had to reinstall Photoshop and I had to clear my preferences, and it reverted to light mode, and it was just so weird and blinding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see it in XD, but it's definitely not. I wouldn't consider it a super priority over things like hover or resizable symbols, which are being worked on.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I have no idea how I set up my layers. Oh, there we go. But it's taking a while to update all of my screens.
Dane says, I would not. I like getting a tan while designing because it's so bright and blinding.
One thing that I do like to use when I'm designing is Flux.
Ooh.
It's kind of like the night shift. I mean, now that iOS or Mac OS has night shift,
Right.
it's kind of rendered useless, but Flux was the predecessor to that.
Interesting.
So it basically tones down all of the blue lights.
Oh, okay.
So kind of like your
Kinda
glasses.
like glasses, super
Yeah.
glasses.
It does that on the screen. So if I turn this
Interesting.
on, you guys can see. Oops, I just disabled it. Flux is, or maybe I can't. But sometimes I'll design
Oh,
like
whoa.
this.
What is going on now?
Because like I don't like looking at the lighter
Right.
screens, and I just need to work with content. So
I feel
I'll
like
just
this
do
is
it
a
like
horror
this.
movie.
And there's also different modes, like what is there? There's movie mode.
If someone came into the stream right now, they'd be very confused.
There's like OSX dark theme at sunset. Oh, no, I don't want you to do that. But it basically makes it a little bit more yellow.
Okay.
So it doesn't strain your eyes as much.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take it back to normal. What did I do? Oh no. Okay. So these ones will keep lighter because they're lighter.
Jan says, this is how XD looks while designing in a submarine during red alert. Santa mode. Oh, Satan mode.
Satan
That too. Or Santa, I don't know.
All right. What else do we want to do?
There we go, Kerwin. I just got here. What happened to the screen?
This should be white.
So what point in the process do you start sharing some of this stuff with the client?
Oh, very early on.
Yeah.
I like those mock-ups, the wireframes that we did earlier. That's probably the earliest I would share.
Okay.
If the clients are more invested, like when I was freelancing, we would actually whiteboard together.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Which I know, like some designers are like, why would you do such a thing?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's easier to get people on board at that stage than it is to get them on board at this stage.
Right.
Because visual design is pretty subjective.
That's true.
And so a lot of this, if you don't have the proper context for it, people will just start being like, oh, like, why did you use that image? Or why did you use that font? I don't like that color, make it pop more. So
many design client stories.
So if you can like get people on the same page at like the paper and pen level and then take them on that journey with you, I feel like they're more likely to say yes. So that's why I lean towards sharing earlier, like earlier and more often than like just showing them the final designs and then have it be torn apart.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Can't tell you how many times a client would just say, make it pop. What does that mean?
It's the worst. And then like when they'll like design over your shoulder and be like, wait, make this like F-E-F-E-F-E. Like actually go back. And then it's like the original design that you had.
Yep.
So
just send them the same design and just tell them you made some changes. And they'll say, oh, it looks great.
One of my favorite Instagram accounts lately has been like Bad UX.
Oh.
And I think it was Design Humor. Those two are really good, and they have a lot of memes about like creative directors and like clients from not so happy places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one I found, I think, on Twitter recently. It's something about like for the exposure or work for exposure. And it's all about clients who want completely free work because they don't believe that design should be paid for.
Yeah, that's
kind of sad, but something we've all run into from time to time.
Make sure you're very intentional about like who you work with and what you're trying to get out of the projects. Yeah. Like even for side projects like this, I mean, so anytime that I embark on a side project, I'm very clear about the goals that I want to set for myself. So for this particular instance, like day in and day out in my job, I don't necessarily work on mobile screens. So it's hard for me to keep up with mobile trends and understand like how to design for the notch and like how to design for like XR versus X screens. And so just having that goal with this project, now I feel like I'm learning about all of those trends and keeping up with it. So if you do want to like work for free, quote unquote, just make sure that you have like an intention set.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was just me rambling, but.
Yeah, you really have to think about it if you're going to work for free, because exposure, I can tell you from personal experience, the company could have 8 bazillion followers on social media. It's not going to lead up to anything.
No.
But if you're doing like charity work, for example, if the company's really standing by something that you truly believe in, then maybe that's something that you might take on. But exposure very rarely will get you anywhere. And like Val just said, you can't buy food with exposure. It's very true. There's a meme Val was saying where an artist gets paid in exposure coupons and then tries to buy food with them.
Oh no.
Oh.
All right, I feel like I'm not making a ton of progress. I'm just like changing font colors back and forth.
That's all part of the design process. Diana's saying the baby shark looks crabbish. Yeah.
We'll get a real baby shark in there. One of the things that I think I want to start doing is committing these styles. So earlier I had character styles in here, but I think I want to start adding some colors to the palette. So like this background color I really liked.
Yeah.
So that's why I added it to this color palette down here. Think I want to play with this darker color as well. Oh, it's just a true black. Let's add that. Let's look for a new button color.
That's another good opinion from Val. If the company has enough, where did it go? If a company has enough clout that their exposure works for you, they probably have the money to pay you.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. And we have about 1 minute till we wrap this up. Till we swim back to the level. I lost that one. What's it called above the water?
Surface?
Surface! I was so close.
All right, I think that's where I'm gonna leave it for now. We're playing with a hot pink. We'll see if it sticks.
Okay, and you can definitely make some tweaks overnight if you want to and come back tomorrow morning and have something fresh to look at.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna rename all my layers so that they're all proper, and then we can start to play with auto animate.
Nice. All right, that will wrap it up for today. We had some great streams. landing off or ending with Christine designing some awesome scuba diving and teaching me a lot of cool things about these weird fish that I'm going to be searching for all night. And we'll be back tomorrow. What do you have planned for tomorrow again?
Tomorrow we'll be cleaning up the visual design, so we'll just make sure that it looks okay and establish a style guide. We'll also take a look at some names, so come prepared with names.
Yes.
No diver was one, so come with ideas.
Awesome. And a huge thanks to everyone who's joining us live and, of course, all of our moderators. So we will see you all bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock back with Josh, and then we'll wrap up the day with Christine again. And in between that, we have Heba and Melody. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.